The purpose of this video is to provide just a general understanding of what chemistry is. I'll want to do this in two different ways. I'm going to look at the essence and sort of history of chemistry. These are somewhat related because as we look at what chemistry is, we have to consider kind of historically where we are in time. Chemistry has developed over time, and the essence of what it is has changed. I'll go ahead and give right now a definition of modern chemistry. This is a Merriam-Webster definition. It's a science or study that deals with matter. Now, we're going to go ahead and break that down a little bit. Deals with the structure and properties of matter. So, yes, we look at stuff in our hands, whether it be markers, pencils, coffee cup, bananas, food, whatever. So we deal with the structure and properties of all those types of substances or matter that I just described, and the changes that it undergoes. So there's really two parts of chemistry, modern chemistry. It's a science or study that deals with the structure and properties of, now Merriam-Webster's definition uses the word substance here, but I think it's okay to just sub that out with matter. And it's a matter that's from the, what we now know, atomic level and up. So chemistry looks at the structures of atoms and up, larger than atoms, and their properties. And it looks at the changes that they undergo. So whatever that change might be. So we can say A, and here's our change arrow, meaning something's changing, to B here. Whatever is causing that change, whether it be heat, light, addition of water. So for example, if we talk about this matter, my coffee cup, its structure and its properties, we're doing chemistry. We're talking about the chemistry of this coffee cup. And if we're talking about what happens to this coffee cup when I heat it, so the question mark here is addition of heat, because we can add a lot of different things, water, light, whatever, to make the change occur. But let's say we added heat to this coffee cup A and it turned into a pool of liquid B. That would be a change. And if we were studying it, we're doing chemistry. So that's the definition, the modern definition, the Merriam-Webster definition of chemistry. It's a good one. Now let's remember, definitions follow the world or are set by the world and what we do. The world and what we do is not set by definitions. So, well, history then becomes important because 200 years ago or during the 1500s and further back, we weren't doing chemistry. The definition wasn't there because the world was different. It was a world that was much more spiritual, or I guess connected to things around them through not just a view of it as physical, but as somewhat spiritual, having a spirit to it. And maybe that's something we've lost, is that we now look at nature, structure of matter, without any elements in our mind of it having some mystery to it. And I like a phrase by G.K. Chesterton that might be somewhere in between these two definitions. I found reality to be a stranger to me, and as a stranger I gave it welcome. So there's a little bit of an idea that comes out of what was very common in alchemy, that there's a spirit to the world around us. That's certainly not in the definition here. We don't see that we often think of now our modern world as just sort of atoms and molecules, and don't think of any sort of spiritual aspect to the substances in front of us. So let's give the definition of alchemy and understand that chemistry has its roots in alchemy. The tools that chemists use in the lab are very similar to tools, I shouldn't say similar, but have their roots in the tools that were used by alchemists. Things for distillation, glassware that was made to deal with gases or liquids, became the glassware of the chemist. So let's give a Merriam-Webster definition of alchemy. It was still a science, a study. Here's where it's going to change. It was a study that was used in the Middle Ages, so it's sort of place and time. And we said the Middle Ages, there was a lot more understanding of the world as being more spiritual in nature, having a sort of, just an example, cold weather was seen maybe as in a different way, where it was seen as sort of death or had an element of darkness to it that was more than just what we have now as a picture of cold. It was not just atoms moving at sort of shorter speed or smaller speeds. No, it wasn't a picture of darkness as that. It was a word I'm thinking of as a frigorific, is a word that conveyed some aspects of, it changes your mood, it has a spirit to it. The coldness that might move in during the winter time is not just, again, air molecules moving at a lower speed. No, there was something more to it than that. So that's sort of the idea during the Middle Ages, is that there's some sort of an aspect of the world that's somewhat spiritual. And that's sort of lost in our current modern chemistry and modern sciences, this idea. So science that was used in the Middle Ages, now here's another twist, again away from mystery of the cold weather or the spirit of the cold weather. We don't really see that in our modern approach to the world. The other thing that really is different here is that it was a science used in the Middle Ages with the goal. So it was a very goal-oriented sort of profession or work. Now I'm going to put in an example here. The goal of making, I guess, gold from ordinary metals. So goal of changing, transmetallation is a term, changing ordinary metals to gold. So I shouldn't say that's all that an alchemist might do, or if the term was used, that person's an alchemist. They can be making elixirs of life or something out of plant materials, but it was very goal-oriented and, of course, lofty goals, things that would make you a lot of money or make kings a lot of money, might make the sick man well, things that are profitable. But it was a very speculative science. It wasn't a science connected to a lot of meticulous experimentation, which was really the transformation that occurred in the Enlightenment Renaissance period, is that experimentation. Meaning, as we went from just having a desire to make gold from metals, it became apparent that to really have success and having some success in manipulating matter to make something new that's profitable, it was necessary that we understand the structure and properties of the matter. So I've kind of drawn an eyeball, saying we're really needed to do a lot more study, meticulous study, time, lengthy, long drawn-out studies of the world we live in. It's just a part of science that's not fun. It just takes time to develop, experiment, run the experiment, get the data you need to shape the ideas you have about the world around you. So experimentation really was the key difference between the work of an alchemist and the work of a chemist, the modern chemist. So that's sort of an idea of the history and the essence of chemistry. Big change between alchemy and chemistry was the focus on looking at the world or nature intently and collecting data that would shape the ideas about our world around us. I want to look at one other thing as we close this brief introduction on, I guess, chemistry, is relationship of chemistry to other sciences, or I guess, and technology. So how does chemistry now fit within the scheme or the fabric of other sciences and technologies that have emerged from these sciences? So I think it's safe to say, and with hopefully not too much pride, but but with reason. Chemistry is a central science, not just central to other disciplines of science, whether it be geology, biology, or whatever, neuroscience. It's a central science to a lot of the developing technologies within textiles and clothing, within energy and communication, so fossil fuels. So industries, major industries, energy, communication, meaning cell phone, development of phone lines, whatever. I guess food and agriculture, or food and medicine. So the agricultural industry, making of processed foods, medicines, and manufacturing. It is, I think, appropriate to say that chemistry affects all of these in some way. It's not that's the only science that affects these industries, but it is central to them. Why? Because all of these different areas of technology or industry deal with matter. I mean, you're constructing from steel and wood, you're making from cotton or synthetic fibers, clothing. You're dealing with fossil fuels, at least in the case of energies from fossil fuels, you're dealing with matter. And we know that chemistry is the science that deals with the structure and properties of matter. So all of these areas deal with some sort of product, something you can hold in your hands, 2x4, shirts, oil or gasoline, I guess your iPads, your aspirins, your bananas, whatever. All of these involve stuff, things like my coffee cup. I guess I don't have it here, but manufacturing. Coffee cup, I think, would be falling under this industry. Manufacturing things that can be used around the house, whether it be coffee makers or can openers or whatever it might be. We're needing a chemist to maybe help us understand how to make that coffee maker stronger, or the can opener blade, make it last longer. Might need a chemist to help us do that. So that's sort of a brief overview, introduction, you might say, to what is chemistry. We've looked at the definition of chemistry and how it's sort of founded or rooted in alchemy. They're both sciences that dealt with stuff, but in different ways. Modern chemistry really looks at just more, I shouldn't say just, but very tied to experimentation, looking at nature intently. Alchemy, not so much. It was just more speculative ideas, and then went right to the lab to try to make profitable items from ordinary metals using just some speculation, no tested ideas. So we looked at the history and essence of chemistry and alchemy and how they related to each other. And then we looked at the relationship of chemistry to other, not sciences here, we used in our picture here, industries or technologies. That's it. I hope that gives you appreciation for chemistry and an understanding of what it is. Thanks. Bye-bye.